Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to another reading of the Torah um, and all of its instructions. Uh, just as a remembrance, a reminder, just going through this stuff, just so that we can have a full grasp of what the instructions actually entail, and we can actually compare the thought of them being a burden, as um, some believe, and it's all based on what I call misinformation and secondhand information. So maybe if we look at these Torah instructions, we can see that there are no burden in them. And it's also to also bring in understanding the people who don't really get a chance to read. You can just set this on autoplay and listen. And hopefully, at the end of each session, we can all discuss, if you have any questions, we can, pop them in the comment box, or if you're on live catching it with me early this morning, 5:15 on the West Coast, and I know it's about 8:15 on the East Coast. Um, then you can jump in the comment section. Maybe you could come on and we could talk about what we've been reading. But right now, we're going to get into Leviticus and the sacrifices, and we're going to read for about an hour, uh, reading chapters 1 through 7, whichever one comes first. So anyway, let's go ahead and start the reading here. So this is Leviticus 1:1. It says, Then the Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when any of you brings an offering to the Lord, you may bring as your offering an animal from the herd or the flock. If one's offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he is to offer an unblemished male. He must bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting for its acceptance before the Lord. He is to lay his hands on the head of the burnt offering so it can be accepted on his behalf to make atonement for him. And he shall slaughter the bull before the Lord. And Aaron's sons, the priests, are to present the blood and sprinkle it on the sides of the altar that is in the entrance of the tent of meeting. Next, he is to skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The sons of Aaron, the high priest, shall prepare a fire on the altar and arrange the wood on the fire. Then Aaron's sons, the priests, are to arrange the pieces, including the head and the fat, atop the burning wood on the altar. The entrails and legs must be washed with water, and the priest shall burn it, and the priest shall burn all of it on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If, however, one's offering is a burnt offering from the flock, from the sheep or the goats, he is to present an unblemished male. He shall slaughter it on the north side of the altar before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall sprinkle its blood against the altar on all sides. He is to cut the animal into pieces, and the priest shall arrange them with its head and fat atop the burning wood that is on the altar. The entrails and the legs must be washed with water, and the priest shall bring all of it and burn it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If instead one's offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, he is to offer a turtle dove or a young pigeon. Then the priest shall bring it to the altar, twist off its head, and burn it on the altar. Its blood should be drained out on the side of the altar. And he is to remove the crop with its contents and throw it into the east side of the altar in the place for ashes. He shall tear it open by its wings without dividing the bird completely, and the priest is to burn it on top of the and excuse me, start over. He shall tear it open by its wings without dividing the bird completely, and the priest is to burn it on the altar top, the burning wood The altar atop the burning wood. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. When anyone brings a grain offering to the Lord, his offering must consist of fine flour. He is to pour olive oil on it, put frankincense on it, and bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests. The priest shall take a handful of the flour and oil together with the frankincense and burn this as a memorial proportion on the altar, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The remainder of the grain offering will belong to Aaron and his sons. It is the most holy part of the offering made by fire to the Lord. Now, if you bring an offering of grain baked in an oven, it must consist of fine flour, either unleavened cakes mixed with oil or unleavened wafers coated with oil. If your offering is a grain offering prepared on a griddle, it must be unleavened bread made of fine flour mixed with oil. Crumble it and pour oil on it. It is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering cooked in a pan, it must consist of fine flour with oil. When you bring to the Lord the grain offering made in any of these ways, it is to be presented to the priest, and he shall take it to the altar. The priest is to remove the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar as an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But the remainder of the grain offering shall belong to Aaron and his sons. It is a most holy part of the offerings made by fire to the Lord. No grain offering that you present to the Lord may be with yeast, for you are not to burn any yeast or honey as an offering made by fire to the Lord. You may bring them to the Lord as an offering of first fruits, but they are not to be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma. And you shall season each of your grain offerings with salt. You must not leave the salt of the covenant of your God out of your grain offerings. You are to add salt to each of your offerings. If you bring a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, you shall offer crushed heads of new grain roasted with fire, and you are to put oil and frankincense on it. It is a grain offering. The priest shall then burn the memorial portion of the crushed grain and the oil, together with all its incense, as an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Leviticus 3. If one's offering is a peace offering, and he offers an animal from the herd, whether male or female, he must present it without a blemish before the Lord. He is to lay his hands on the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood on all sides of the altar. From the peace offering, he is to bring an offering made by fire to the Lord. The fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he shall also remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar atop the burnt offering that is on the burning wood, as an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If, however, one's peace offering to the Lord is from the flock, he must present a male or a female without blemish. If he is presenting a lamb for his offering, he must present it before the Lord. He is to lay his hands on the head of the offering and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron and his sons shall sprinkle its blood on the sides of the altar. And from the peace offering, he shall bring an offering made by fire to the Lord, consisting of its fat, the entire fat tail cut off close to the backbone, the fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat on the entrails, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys. Then the priest is to burn them on the altar as food, an offering made by fire to the Lord. If one's offering is a goat, he is to present it before the Lord. He must lay his hands on his head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall sprinkle blood on the sides of the altar. And from his offering, he shall present an offering made by fire to the Lord, of the fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he will also remove with the kidneys. Then the priest will burn the food on the altar as an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. This is a perpetual statute for the generations to come. Wherever you live, you must not eat any fat or any blood. Then the Lord said to Moses, Leviticus 4. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the sons of Israel to do as follows with one who sins unintentionally against any of the Lord's commandments and does what is forbidden by them. If the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, he must bring to the Lord a young bull without blemish as a sin offering for the sin he has committed. He must bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord, lay his hands on the bull's head, and slaughter it before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and bring it to the tent of meeting. The priest is to dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil of the sanctuary. The priest must then apply some of the blood on the horns of the altar or fragrant incense that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting. And he is to pour out the rest of the bull's blood at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then he shall remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering, the fat that covers the entrails, all the fat that is on them, both kidneys with the fat that is on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys, just as the fat is removed from the ox of the peace offering. The priest shall then burn them on the altar of burnt offering. But the hide of the bull and all its flesh, with its heads and legs and its entrails and dung, all the rest of the bull, he must take outside the camp to a ceremonially clean place where the ashes are poured out, and he must burn it on the fire, on the wood fire, on the ash heap. Now, if the whole congregation of Israel sins unintentionally, excuse me. Now, if the whole congregation of Israel sins unintentionally, and the matter escapes the notice of the assembly so that they violate any of the Lord's commandments and incur guilt by doing what is forbidden, when they become aware of this sin that they committed, then the assembly must bring a young bull as a sin offering and present it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the congregations are to lay their hands on the bull's head before the Lord, and it shall be slaughtered before the Lord. Then the anointed priest is to bring up some of the bull's blood into the tent of meeting, and he is to dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil. He is also to apply some of the blood to the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting, and he must pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tent of meeting. And he is to remove all the fat from it and burn it on the altar. He shall offer this bull just as he did the bull for the sin offering. In this way, the priest will make an atonement on their behalf and they will be forgiven. Then he is to take the bull outside the camp and burn it, just as he burnt the first bull. It is a sin offering for the assembly. When a leader sins unintentionally and does what is prohibited by the commandments of the Lord his God, he incurs guilt. When he becomes aware of the sin he has committed, he must bring an unblemished male goat as his offering. He is to lay his hand on the head of the goat and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It is a sin offering. Then the priest shall take Then the priest is to take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, apply it to the horns on the altar of burnt offering, and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He must burn all of its fat on the altar, like the fat of the peace offerings. Thus the priest will make atonement for that man's sin, and he will be forgiven. And if one of the common people sins unintentionally and does what is prohibited by any of the Lord's commandments, he incurs guilt. When he becomes aware of the sin he has committed, he is to bring a female goat without blemish as his offering for the sin that he has committed. He shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest is to take some of the blood with his finger, apply it to the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. Then he shall remove all the fat, just as he removed from the peace offering, and the priest is to burn it on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him, and he will be forgiven. If, however, he brings a lamb as a sin offering, he is to bring an unblemished female, and he shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it as a sin offering in the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, apply it to the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and pour out the rest of its blood at the base of the altar. And he is to remove all the fat, just as the fat of the lamb is removed from the peace offerings, and he shall burn it on the altar along with the offerings made by fire to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven. Leviticus 5. If someone sins by failing to testify when he hears a public charge about something he has witnessed, whether he has seen it or learned of it, he shall bear the iniquity. Or if a person touches anything unclean, whether the carcass of any unclean wild animal or livestock or crawling creature, even if he is unaware of it, he is unclean and guilty. Or if he touches human uncleanness, anything by which one becomes unclean, even if he is aware of it, when he realizes it, he is guilty. Or if someone swears thoughtlessly with his lips to do anything good or evil, in whatever matter a man may rashly pronounce an oath, even if he is unaware of it, when he later realizes it, he will be guilty. If someone incurs guilt in one of these ways, he must confess the sin he has committed, and he must bring his guilt offering to the Lord for the sin he has committed, a female lamb or goat from the flock of the sin offering, and the priest will make atonement for him concerning his sin. If, however, he cannot afford a lamb, he may bring to the Lord as restitution for his sin 2 turtle doves or two young pigeons, one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. He is to bring them to the priest, who shall first present the one for the sin offering. He is to twist off the head in front. He has to twist its head at the front of its neck without severing it. Then he is to sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering to the side of the altar, while the rest of the blood is drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And the priest must prepare the second bird as a burnt offering according to the ordinance. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven. But if he cannot afford 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, he may bring a tenth of an ephah of fine flour as in sin offering for his sin. He must not put olive oil or frankincense on it, because it is a sin offering. He is to bring to the priest, who shall take a handful from it as a memorial portion and burn it on the altar atop the offerings made by fire to the Lord. It is a sin offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him for any of these sins he has committed, and he will be forgiven. The remainder will belong to the priest, like the grain offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, if someone acts unfaithfully and sins unintentionally against any of the Lord's holy things, he must bring his guilt offering to the Lord, an unblemished ram from the flock of proper value in silver shekels according to the sanctuary shekel. It is a guilt offering. Regarding any holy thing he has harmed, he must make restitution by adding a fifth of its value to it and giving it to the priest, who will make an atonement on his behalf with the ram as a guilt offering, and he will be forgiven. If someone sins and violates any of the Lord's commandments, even though he was unaware, he is still guilty and shall bear his punishment. He must bring to the priest an unblemished ram of proper value from a flock as a guilt offering. Then the priest will make atonement on his behalf for the wrong he has committed unintentionally, and he will be forgiven. It is a guilt offering. He was certainly guilty before the Lord. Leviticus 6. Then the Lord said to Moses, if someone sins and acts unfaithfully against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in regard to a deposit or a security entrusted to him or stolen, or if he exhorts his neighbor, or if he extorts his neighbor, or finds lost property and lies about it and swears falsely, or if he commits any such sin that a man might commit, once he has sinned and become guilty, he must return what he has stolen or taken by extortion, or the deposit entrusted to him, or the lost property he has found, or anything else about which he has sworn falsely. He must make restitution in full, add a fifth of the value, and pay it to the owner on the day that he presents his guilt offering. Then he must bring to the priest his guilt offering to the Lord, an unblemished ram of proper value from the flock. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him before the Lord, and he will be forgiven for anything that he may have done to incur the guilt. Again, the Lord said to Moses, command Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the burnt offering. The burnt offering is to remain in the hearth of the altar all night until morning, and the fire must be kept burning on the altar. And the priest shall put on his linen robe and linen undergarments, and he shall remove from the altar the ashes of the burnt offering that the fire has consumed, and place them beside it. Then he must take off his garments, put on other clothes, and carry the ashes outside the camp to a ceremonially clean place. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning. It must not go out. Every morning the priest is to add wood to the fire, arrange the burnt offerings on it, and burn the fat portions of the peace offerings on it. The fire must be kept burning on the altar continually. It must not be extinguished. Now this is the law for the grain offering. Aaron's son shall present it before the Lord in front of the altar. The priest is to remove a handful of fine flour and olive oil, together with all the incense from the grain offering, and burn the memorial portion on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Aaron and his sons are to eat the remainder. It must be eaten as unleavened in a holy place. They are to eat it in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. It must not be baked with yeast. I have assigned it as their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. And any male among the sons of Aaron may eat it. This is the permanent portion from the offerings made by fire of the Lord for the generations to come. Anything that touches them shall become holy. Then the Lord said to Moses, this is the offering that Aaron and his sons must present to the Lord on the day that he is anointed: a tenth of an ephah of flour as a regular grain offering, half of it in the morning and half of it in the evening. It shall be prepared with oil on a griddle. You are to bring it well kneaded and present it as a grain offering broken in pieces, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The priest, who is one of Aaron's son and will be anointed to take his place, is to prepare it as a permanent portion for the Lord. It must be burned completely. Every grain offering for a priest shall be burned completely. It is not to be eaten. And the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the sin offering in the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. The sin offering shall be slaughtered before the Lord, and it is most holy. The priest who offers it shall eat it. It must be eaten in the holy place, in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. Anything that touches its flesh will become holy, and if any of the blood is splattered on a garment, you must wash it in a holy place. The clay pot which the sin offering is boiled must be broken. If it is boiled in a bronze pot, it must be scoured and rinsed with water. Any male among the priests may eat it. It is most holy. But no sin offering may be eaten if its blood has been brought. Let me start that over. Leviticus 6:30. But no sin offering may be eaten if its blood has been brought into the tent of meeting to make atonement in the holy place. It must be burned. Leviticus 7. Now this is the law of the guilt offering, which is most holy. The guilt offering must be slaughtered in the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, and the priest shall sprinkle its blood on all sides of the altar. And all the fat from it shall be offered, the fat tail, the fat that covers the entrails, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which it is to be removed with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a guilt offering. Every male among the priests may eat of it. It must be eaten in a holy place. It is most holy. The guilt offering is like the sin offering. Uh, the same law applies to both. It belongs to the priest who makes atonement with it. As for the priest who presents a burnt offering for anyone, the hide of that offering belongs to him. Likewise, every grain offering that is baked in an oven or cooked in a pan or on a griddle belongs to the priest who presents it. And every grain offering, whether dry or mixed with oil, belongs equally to all the sons of Aaron. Now, this is the law of the peace offering that one may present to the Lord. If he offers it in thanksgiving, then along with the sacrifice of thanksgiving, he must offer unleavened cakes mixed with oil, olive oil, unleavened wafers coated with oil, and well kneaded cakes of fine flour mixed with oil. Along with his peace offering of thanksgiving, he is to present an offering with cakes of unleavened bread. From the cakes, he must present one portion of each offering as a contribution to the Lord. It belongs to the priest who sprinkles the blood of the peace offering. The meat of the sacrifice of his peace offering of thanksgiving must be eaten on the day that he offers it. None of it may be left to the morning. None of it may be offered. Um, none of it may be left until the morning. If, however, the sacrifice he offers is a vow or a freewill offering, it shall be eaten on the day that he presents his sacrifice, but the remainder may be eaten on the next day. But any meat of the sacrifice remaining until the third day must be burned up. If any of the meat from his peace offering is eaten on the third day, it will not be accepted. It will not be credited to the one who has presented it. It shall be an abomination, and the one who eats of it shall bear his iniquity. Meat that touches anything unclean must not be eaten. It is to be burned up. As for the any other meat, anyone who is clean may eat it. But if anyone who is unclean eats meat from the peace offerings that belong to the Lord, that person must be cut off from his people. If one touches anything unclean, whether human uncleanliness or unclean animal, or any unclean, detestable thing, and then eats any of the meat of the peace offering that belongs to the Lord, that person must be cut off from his people. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say, you are not to eat any of the fat of an ox, a sheep, or a goat. The fat of an animal found dead or mauled by beasts may be used for any other purpose, but you must not eat it. If anyone eats animal fat from which an offering made by fire may be presented to the Lord, the one who eats it must be cut off from his people. You must not eat the blood of any bird or animal in any of your dwellings. If anyone eats blood, that person must be cut off from his people." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say, if anyone presents a peace offering must to the Lord, must bring it as a sacrifice to the Lord. With his own hands, he is to bring the offerings made by fire to the Lord. He shall bring the fat together with the breast and wave the breast as a wave offering before the Lord. The priest is to burn the fat on the altar, but the breast belongs to Aaron and his sons. And you are to give the right thigh to the priest as a contribution from your peace offering. And the son of Aaron who presents the blood and the fat of the peace offerings shall have the right thigh as his portion. I have taken from the sons of Israel the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the contribution of their peace offerings, and I have given them to Aaron the priest and his sons as a permanent portion from the sons of Israel. This is the portion of the offerings made by fire to the Lord for Aaron and his sons, since the day they were presented to serve the Lord as priests. On the day that they were anointed, the Lord commanded that this be given them by the sons of Israel. It is a permanent portion for the generations to come. This is the law of the burnt offering, the grain offering, the sin offering, the guilt offering, the ordination offering, and the peace offering, which the Lord gave Moses on Mount Sinai on the day he commanded the Israelites to present their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. So that will end the reading from Leviticus chapters 1 through 7. Yeah, it was a little short today, only about 30 minutes, but it's all good. Anyway, let me check to see if anybody's in there who has any comments. No comments left, which is fine. Anyway, like I said, if you have any other comments or questions that you want to, post about what we've read and what you believe that that what we've read is saying, then just go ahead and post it in the chat, and then we can discuss it, because all discussion is healthy discussion. you know um, we might find some things in there that we might not found before, and yeah. But anyway, man, you guys have a blessed Sunday. Everybody out there, keep God in mind when you're doing everything. Keep loving your neighbor in your mind as you're doing everything, and we'll see you next week. Shalom.